Hi everybody, Mike from RMT Family here. So what you're seeing here is Interstate 90 in Washington State. And we are driving from our home in Montana to Seattle, Washington to pick up our new car. This is the car we've been searching for over a year. In June or July of 2019, Jamie decided on a career change and she wanted to get into real estate. And so at that point, we started looking for a second car because sooner or later we needed to have two cars so that I could go to work and she could do her new job. Until that point, we were both driving together for and back to town in one car. So our search started with Teslas, as we had a Tesla Model 3 and we were super happy. We decided to look at Teslas. At that point, there was not too many options out there for a Tesla Model 3 at a low price. Prices were still pretty high. The Model Y was not available yet. A new Model 3, we would have to go for the standard range plus probably. So we also looked at Model S and Model X. Model X being a completely different car, much higher price, used, only available since 2016. Pricing was kind of out of our price range. Model S, used, available since about 2012, was more in our price range. But that said, the older Model S, they don't have all the features that current Model S's have. There was a big change in 2016, and so looking at a 2013 to 2016, somewhere in that range, it wouldn't have all the options. But still, we looked around and we found a couple options in a Model S. Both turned out to be a scam. The price was low, but not unbelievably low. So it could have been possible somebody needed to get rid of a car quickly. But they both turned out to be a scam. And actually, I'll maybe make a video someday on one of those. But that's it. We kept on looking. Then we expanded our search and looked at Toyota Prius hybrids, plug-in hybrids. At some point, we started looking at the Chrysler Pacifica plug-in hybrid. Nothing was really 100% satisfactory. We couldn't really find the great deal we wanted in that area either. We still kept looking at Teslas. We also looked at our neighbor's Toyota Prius that he had sitting there and kind of decommissioned because of a couple issues. So we were going to look into that, but that didn't work out either. There was too much work that needed to be done, and we kind of wanted a car that was just ready to drive. So we even looked at a couple gas cars, but still nothing really satisfactory. Personally, I didn't want to go back to a gas car. Jamie was more open to that, just because it would have been much cheaper to get a used gas car than any electric vehicle. But me personally, I was kind of aiming for an EV. And so we kept on looking and looking and looking. And we kept on going through all these options over and over and over again, and we're hoping for the right deal to come along. So, by the way, you probably have noticed driving through the state of Washington on I-90 is pretty darn boring. There is really not much to see, and it makes for a long drive. There is a couple spots where the drive is actually quite beautiful. This here is one of them, coming down towards the Columbia River, and you can see the bridge down there that we're about to cross. So following the Columbia River there for a little bit and crossing it, that was probably one of the highlights of driving through the state before you get to Seattle. So this part was really beautiful, but very short. So anyway, back to the car story. 2020 came around, and early 2020 the world got turned upside down, as you all know. And the need to have a car was not as big anymore, as neither one of us had to go somewhere desperately at the same time usually. And if one of us would have to use the truck, we still had a pickup truck, and so one of us would just have to drive it. As time went on, um, nothing changed. We kept looking and looking until about August. And that's when something interesting came up as we watched some news about EVs on YouTube. Um, there was talk about one of the EV manufacturers providing a huge discount on brand new EVs. And this was really, really interesting. So I looked online and was trying to find those EVs with the huge discount. Didn't really see anything. It's like, no, they were a little discounted from MSRP, but not the huge discount that we were told about. So we kind of left that aside again, just kept looking. And about mid September, I went back to that manufacturer and looked at their website, and now I was able to see those discounts. There was huge discounts, even bigger than what they said. As most manufacturers change their production from one model year to the next in August, that puts pressure on all the dealers to sell the current year models, because the next year models will be showing up on their sales lot in a few weeks. So they desperately need to get rid of them. So towards the end of the year, it's always a great opportunity to buy a new car, no matter what it is, just because they need to get rid of those 2020 models in this case. And with this particular car that we were looking at, it was going to get a refresh for 2021. And that's it. They desperately needed to get rid of the 2020s, because once the new ones are out in about the same price range with the refresh, nobody wants the old ones. So there was super huge discounts, and I'm going to give you a hint here. There was an $8,000 off MSRP from the manufacturer itself. If you're familiar with EVs, you may have heard about that. It's a pretty big deal if the OEM gives $8,000 off MSRP right off the bat. This is not any discounts the dealer would give you. This is not any discounts you would get for whatever financing you get or anything. There's just $8,000 right off the bat on this car given by the manufacturer. And with that refresh coming, they desperately needed to get rid of those cars. And that's when we started researching those cars pretty heavily. Here in Montana, it is tough to find an EV in general. There is relatively few dealers, relatively few options to buy any car. A lot of people from here actually go to Spokane, Washington to purchase a car. There is many more options there, many more dealers, many more used car dealerships. So a lot of them drive over there and purchase their car there. So for us, what we found, this particular car, it was either in Florida, in Virginia, or in Seattle, Washington. Those were our options. The deals were not all exactly the same. They were very similar. They all had the $8,000 off. So we looked at the different options, and we had to look specifically at the different cars because they were not all equipped the same. And by now you probably figured out I'm talking about dealers. So it's not a Tesla. Tesla does not have dealerships. Tesla has service centers. So no, not a Tesla, unfortunately. But it is an EV. And it's an EV that's been made for about 3 years. And it had overall good reviews. It's great in regards to its battery pack. It's not a high performance car like a Tesla is, but it's a good daily driver. So anyway, we kept looking at the different options, and we called a dealer at the end of September in Seattle, and we made him an offer for a specific car they had in stock. The dealer in Seattle was the best deal for us because we were able to go pick it up. So we could actually look at the car before we sign any documents. We wouldn't have to pay any freight for it to come back to us. Like if it would be from the East Coast, we would have had to pay about $700-800 in freight to get it here, and it would take several weeks for it to show up. Also, there wouldn't have been the option to look at it before signing the paperwork. Also, the cost of the paperwork, the one dealer in Florida wanted like $900 just to do paperwork on this car, which that is ridiculous. There's no need to charge that much for paperwork. You print it off the computer, we sign it, that's it. So the state of Washington seems to charge $150, or every dealership there seems to charge $150 for the paperwork, which that is reasonable. That makes sense. And with us being able to drive to Seattle and pick it up, that's even better. So we called that dealership. It was 3 days before the end of the month. The end of September, by the way, is the end of the third quarter. Also, the end of the month. So dealerships and OEMs, they go by quarters and they go by month. So if they can sell something before the end of the month, if they can sell something before the end of the quarter, they're very willing to haggle with you and to drop the price so that they can keep their numbers up. The more they can sell in that month, the more bragging rights they have, and the more discounts they can get when they purchase their new vehicles. So we made an offer. It was a Sunday night. We couldn't agree on it. We were $500 apart, but it was a great deal. So, like I said, we got $8,000 off the MSRP right off the bat, just because the OEM gave $8,000 off. Also, that brand is part of the Costco Auto program, and we've been Costco members for a long time, which that paid off with an additional $3,000 off. So now we already had $11,000 off the MSRP, and we didn't even have to haggle yet. Then there was the other option to finance with GM. So if you financed with GM Financial, you would get another $500 off. Then the dealer offered a $2,000 extra on top of your trade-in of a certain year with a lower mileage if you had one, which we didn't. But if they can give $2,000 off that trade-in, I think they can definitely give us a break on that car, even if we don't have a trade-in. And so, like I said, we couldn't agree on the price. We were $500 apart that Sunday night, and we told the salesman, we will have to wait. We'll have to sleep over it. We'll give you a call tomorrow. And that's where we ended on that Sunday night. Then on Monday morning, we called the other dealer that had the second best deal and tried to feel out if they would be willing to give discounts, if they could come in with a better price or at least really super close. But with the high fee for the paperwork plus freight to get this across the country, we were just $1,000 or so higher, and we wouldn't have the opportunity to see the car before we signed it. And actually, it had one option package less than the one in Seattle. So it was a lower MSRP, but it ended up being about $1,000 more purchase price than the one in Seattle. So we're coming closer to Seattle, and the drive got a little more interesting. There was also a little more traffic. Anyway, by now, at least if you're familiar with EVs, you probably figured out what car I'm talking about. As there's not too many out there, and I already mentioned the OEM with financing. So, that said, here we're driving into Seattle, getting closer to it, and well, I guess I just need to show you the new car. So here it is, our brand new 2020 Chevy Bolt EV. So we've been looking not necessarily for this particular car, but this definitely checks off a lot of the boxes we were looking for. And again, it's an electric car. So we were very excited, obviously. It's a really cool car. We chose this color, it was the color we really liked. Now the only question is, what now? We are in Seattle, 500 miles away from home, with this Chevy Bolt. Can we make it home from here? How are we gonna make it home from here? We got to Seattle with a rental car. We got the cheapest rental that we could get for 1 day, one way to Seattle for like $98. Super deal. But now we gotta get back with this Chevy Bolt. So, please like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell so that you don't miss out on our next video with this Chevy Bolt getting back home from Seattle. A 500-mile drive. See if we make it, how we make it. Is it easy to do? Can this car go the distance or not? So again, please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.